Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This morning, I'm going to go through the impact of cyber attacks on your business and how to protect yourself. This will not be a technical conversation. We'll keep it fairly simple. But before we do, I just want to make sure that you're all familiar with Fortinet. And I'm just trying to, oh, here we go. For those of you that are not familiar with Fortinet, we are a cybersecurity company. We are one of the leading cybersecurity companies in the world. Our mission is quite simple: to secure people, devices, and data everywhere. We are a publicly traded company with well over 660,000 customers around the world. We are over a $5 billion a year business in revenue. It was founded in the year 2000, so we've been around for a number of years. We are truly a global company. Our head office is actually in Sunnyvale, California. We have a large presence in Canada as well. I'm here in the Toronto area, but we've got an extensive facility in just outside of Vancouver in Burnaby with about 3,000 staff. That's our R&D center. And we've got a significant size office in Ottawa as well with over 600 employees. So we truly are a global company. We are, our executive team likes to say that we're an engineering company. We've got, well over 1,200 patents, heavily in research and development, and our focus is strictly cybersecurity and protecting companies. So what I want to go through today, just a couple of different things. I want to talk about and also give you some definitions as well. For those of you who aren't familiar with cybersecurity and what an attack is, really, I just want to give you a couple of definitions. A cyber attack is really an attempt by someone to either disable your computers, to steal your data, and use your computer to launch additional attacks on other computers. There's a number of different methods that the cyber criminals, and they are criminals, that they use to launch these attacks. And some of them include phishing, malware, what we call denial of service, and I'll explain what these are. And there are ways for you to protect yourself against a lot of these attacks. And cyber attacks impact all sectors of the economy, and I'll even give you some examples of some recent ones as well. But this is from our own research, and I just pulled one from the end of last year. We do extensive research in what we call our FortiGuard labs. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you live attacks that are going on globally, and it's an interesting map. But as you can see from this particular slide, all sectors are impacted. Whether you're in banking or government or consumer products, healthcare, mining, oil and gas, technology, every industry is potentially impacted. No one is completely 100% safe when it comes to cyber attacks. There have been a lot of studies over the years, and we've done our own. But in the last 12 months, according to Gartner research, the human element has been involved in 85% of breaches. And what they mean by human element is really just people making mistakes and just doing the wrong thing. And nearly half of that is what we call a phishing attack, which is a bad email, and I'll give you the proper definition in a moment. We recently did our own survey we went out to about 1,200 or 1,500 companies, and 84% of them experienced one or more breaches in the past 12 months. Now, a lot of these were prevented because they had the right technology, behind them. So there was nothing critical that had happened, but 84 of these organizations had one breach. 29% of them had 5 or more intrusions. And that's increased year over year. So a lot of potential breaches. And 48% of them suffered breaches in the past 12 months that cost more than $1 million to remediate or to fix. So this can be costly to your business, could be costly to you personally as well. So the number one way these cyber criminals are getting in is by what's called phishing. And you've probably experienced this or have seen this on your own emails or text messages. So phishing really is the fraudulent practice of sending emails or other messages like text messages, and it looks like they're from a legitimate company, or even potentially somebody that you know. And the whole idea around this is to entice people to click on a link which allows them to get into your computer system, or tries to convince you to reveal personal information like a password or credit card number. You'll see at the bottom of the screen here, here's an example of, if you've got a Gmail account. I've gotten these emails in the past where it says, we're updating our login credentials. Please confirm your account by logging into your Gmail account. And they give you a link to click on. And then if you click on the link, they'll ask you to change your password or so on. This is not a legitimate link. You'll see it says account update at gmail.org.com. A Gmail account doesn't have that .org within it. It's just gmail.com. So you really need to take a close look at these emails before you click on anything. So you really need to think before you click. Here's one that I actually just got about 2 weeks ago. It's another phishing email, and this one here was from Netflix, and they even disguise the emails. They use the logos, and it's easy to copy a logo and paste it into an email. And it basically said your payment was declined. So to avoid interruption, please log on to your account and confirm your payment information. So essentially what they're asking you to do is to put in your credit card information again, and they'll have access to it. But you'll notice the email that they want you to click on, account@netflix.com. It's very subtle, but you'll see Netflix has 2 eyes instead of 1. So they'll try and disguise these emails, but it's very easy to be fooled. So you really need to be careful when you get these types of emails or text messages. You've probably seen them from banks. I get them from banks periodically, banks that I don't even deal with, but they'll say that there's something wrong with the account, or I've got to update something. Please click on this email link, even though I don't have an account. So they try to fool you any way they can. So be careful. Take a look at your emails. This is phishing. This is the most common way someone can get into your computer system, can get into your personal data. And so phishing is the most prevalent way people get in. Some more research here. On the left there, you'll see an expanded attack surface. It makes it easier for the cyber criminals to get in. And what we mean by an expanded attack surface, many of us today are now working from home. So what that means is there are many more computers out there that these bad guys have access to. To give you a simple example, if I look at my own family, I've got 3 kids and my wife. Everyone has a phone, so there's 5 devices. Everyone has a laptop. There's 5 more devices. We've got a couple of iPads. So within our household, we've got about 13 devices. That's an attack surface. So multiply that. If you've got a company with 100 employees or 500 employees, and every family has 10 to 12 devices, that's a huge attack surface. And all of them need to be protected. So that's what an attack surface is. So the larger your organization, the more computers, the larger your attack surface. Just some more research. 53%, there's been in the last year increase in what we call Viper malware. That just wipes out your data. Some of these bad guys, they have different reasons for doing this. And in a lot of cases, it's financial. You'll see at the bottom right there, 73.9% of incidents were financially motivated. So they want you to pay them in order for you to get your computer systems back or your data. And then there are some guys that just do it for fun. There are some that are organized organizations that do this to make money. And you'll see 81% of these attacks are in the form of phishing, password, and malware attacks. So the majority are still using these phishing emails, and some are very simple, and I'll give you some examples. On a worldwide basis, the average cost for an organization that experiences a breach is $4.3 million. For those of you that are running a small business, this could wipe you out potentially. So we really need to be careful and protect ourselves. A couple more definitions. Malware. This is software that's designed to disrupt, damage, or gain access to your computer system. So when you click on one of these email links, what it's actually doing in many cases is installing this software into your computer system, and that's going to allow them to have access to your computer system and all your data. Ransomware is essentially a type of software, but what this does, it's designed to block access to your computer system. So the bad guys essentially take control of your computer system and just lock you out. And so they take control of everything, and until you pay them a sum of money, you do not get control of your computer systems again. So that's what ransomware is. They essentially hold you ransom. Denial of service is a crime where the attacker essentially floods your computer or your website, and until it essentially shuts down and no one has access to your online services or any of your websites as well. So they just flood your website with information, and you no longer have access to it. In terms of recent attacks, just here in Ontario and in Canada, the Durham School Board, for those of you who might be living in the East End, Durham School Board was attacked and shut down. So kids couldn't go to school. There was no access to any online learning. The computer systems didn't work. So Durham School Board, all the K-12 schools were shut down for almost 2 weeks. Just before Christmas, Toronto Sick Kids Hospital was compromised. No websites, didn't have access to anything online. And this is a hospital. What benefit could it be to a cyber criminal to attack a hospital? But that's what they did. The LCBO was compromised this summer. Some of you may have heard about the Indigo, the bookstore breach, which happened earlier this year in March. Again, Indigo was shut down. You couldn't go into a store and buy a book. You couldn't buy a book online. So they were essentially shut down. So think about the revenue loss from that organization. Think about how that affects customers who may have their credit card on file for online purchasing. So it really can affect your business. Just about a week ago, the Weather Network. Again, why would someone attack the Weather Network? I remember this one specifically because I remember checking the weather one day and their websites were down. But they shut down the Weather Network for a few days as well. And I think the goal here was, the Weather Network is part of a much larger corporation. So they may have held them for some ransom to get them back online. Casinos are starting to be hit as well. Here in Ontario, Rama, Georgian Downs were shut down in April because of an attack. These are high revenue organizations, so lots of potential for ransomware. And so you can see there are all kinds of different industries. So no one is prone to an attack. Again, just a couple of weeks ago, again, this made the news. And here's an example of an unsophisticated attack. MGM Resorts in Las Vegas. So they own a number of hotels and casinos in Las Vegas. It's a company whose value is over $30 billion. So this is a big company. 31 resorts had their websites down, so you couldn't make a reservation. Within the casinos themselves, the ATMs were down. Some of the slot machines were down. And here's an example where it wasn't a phishing email. It wasn't someone that got in, through phishing. It was a hacker who got an employee's name from LinkedIn. They just went on LinkedIn, got the name of an employee, and they were able to contact the company's technical help desk. So they made a phone call, pretended they were this particular employee, and said they were having problems logging in to their account, their email, or whatever it was. This 10-minute conversation led the hacker to get in with a new login to the company systems. So not that sophisticated, but they were able to get themselves a login and shut them down and demanded some ransom in order for them to get back up. So you really need to be careful. I remember a couple of years ago, something similar happened. I believe it was with the city of Burlington. It was an unsophisticated attack where someone sent a letter with a construction company's logo on it, and it just basically said that they were changing their banking to electronic funds transfer. Here's the new account, so for any future invoices. And it was a bogus account, and someone within the accounting department sent some money that shouldn't have gone there. So you really need to be careful. Here's an example of a very small law firm, a two-man law firm. This happened last month, where through a phishing attack, the hackers got into the law firm. And in many cases, these hackers are very patient, and they could be in your system for a number of weeks and a number of months before you even know they're there. By being within your system, they learn about the systems and how you operate. In this particular case, the hackers learned about the finances and the payroll system of the law firm. They eventually shut the law firm down and asked for a ransom, and they knew exactly the amount of money that was in the firm's bank accounts that particular day that they were shut down, because they were able to stay within the system. They knew when they were making payroll, they knew when deposits were there. So the ransomware was the exact amount of money that the bank had in their account. So the bank or the law firm paid them in order to get all their confidential information back. So, this could impact your businesses in a number of ways. A cyber attack would first increase your costs. You may have to bring in a technology expert. Some of you may be in small companies where you don't have someone technical who's managing your computer systems. So costs can include bringing in some expertise. You could pay higher insurance premiums. Think about the public relations and legal support you might need. How do you build your reputation back up, after a breach, and you have to notify your customers that their data may have been breached. For small businesses, if you don't have expertise, you can certainly hire a technical service provider. There are many companies that are out there that will provide this expertise, and many of them, if you're a small business, really isn't that expensive. It's a lot cheaper than hiring someone on a full-time basis. So it's something you may want to look at. If you don't have that expertise, you can actually hire a company to manage your computer systems and your technology. In Canada, last year, the average cost for ransomware was almost $2 million. That's a lot of money for a small business. So it can have a big impact on your business. Obviously, the other impact is the operational disruption and lost revenue. If your business is interrupted, you just can't do business. Customers can't purchase from you, so you will lose revenue. So if your systems are down or your systems are infected, if you can't conduct day-to-day operations, you will lose revenue, and it may take time to get your systems back up and running as well. Reputational damage. Your brand, the business reputation could be severely affected, and this could take months, could take years to repair. Customers, your suppliers may feel less secure working with you. They may not want to work with you or leave any kind of information on your systems. The bottom line, you may lose some customers, you may lose your suppliers as well. So these cyber attacks can do some serious reputational damage. One of the things about 30% of companies are reporting, it's not just financial information, but you may have intellectual property. So if you've got product designs or technologies that you're working on, or go-to-market strategies, these are valuable assets to some of these cyber criminals. There are many organizations that are looking for intellectual property, so they can, duplicate the designs or the technologies in order to go to market themselves and make money or to improve their own products. So these bad guys can come from everywhere. So 30% of companies are reporting that their intellectual property is being stolen. This could also alter your business practices. You may have to rethink the way you collect and store sensitive information. Many companies have in fact stopped storing customers' financial and personal information like credit cards. It used to be easy to buy online because they store your credit cards. It's fast. It seems simple. But many companies are stopping that practice. So for the consumer, it's going to take longer to place an order and enter all the information. Some companies that have really been affected have actually shut down their online stores out of concern that they can't protect themselves or their customers from these online attacks. You can have your business practices changed as a result. And again, this could lead to more costs, less revenue as well down the road. So how do we protect your businesses? And how do you protect yourself and your employees? One of the easiest ways is to educate your employees. 85% of the breaches are occurring because of human error. And half of that is from basic phishing attacks. So teaching your employees about basic cybersecurity awareness is key. There's a lot of training that's out there. And I'm going to give you our website link at the end of the presentation. We provide free training to educate your staff and yourself. You really need to establish basic security practices and policies for your employees. Password protection. Strong passwords must be used. We suggest that everyone changes their passwords on a regular basis. Here at Fortinet, every 3 months, we get emails saying, change your password, change your password. So we have to change it every 3 months. And I mentioned there is training available. There are many sources online that will provide free training as well. So if you have the opportunity, please train your staff, establish some basic security practices and policies, especially password protection. A lot of it is common sense. Do not share your passwords. If you're a small business and you don't have a lot of computers and you've got 2 or 3 or 4 people using the same computer and they're all logging in with the same password, that's a problem. Make sure everyone has their own individual login and passwords. There's a question here. Is it legal to store credit card information in Canada? Yes, it is. Many organizations, whether it's Amazon or a lot of these online stores, even Air Canada, they store your credit card information online. So yes, it is perfectly legal. Yeah. So these organizations, obviously would have very strong cybersecurity policies. However, they are sometimes breached as well. So you should be very careful. I tend not to store mine. When I order something from Amazon, I tend to always enter my credit card information at the time of ordering. And then in many cases, they'll ask you if you want to store your credit card for next time. I always hit no and do it that way. Plus, I don't want my kids going on Amazon and using my credit card either. So I typically don't. Anyway, so for the next point is to protect your information, computers, and network. Keep your systems up to date. Older technology doesn't have the protection that the latest technology has. So, if you've got a computer that's 5, 6, 7 years old, it's probably time to update your computer, whether it's your laptop or your desktop. Most of them should have the latest security software built in, and web browser and operating system. These are the best defenses against viruses, malware, and other online threats. So, you don't need to, every year buy the latest and greatest computer, but you should update the security software on a fairly regular basis as well. Okay, so that's really key, is keep your systems up to date. Number 3, make backup copies of important business data. You should regularly back up your data on all computers. We've seen this too often, where hardware breaks down, first of all, and if someone does compromise your data, in a lot of cases, even if you pay the ransomware, you're not going to get all your data back. They may have wiped it out anyway. So you should back it up regularly. There are a lot of automatic backups that are available as well. Store the data offsite or in the cloud as well. So make sure you back it up, and that includes your word processing documents, your spreadsheets, your databases, your human resource files, your accounting, obviously. For those of you who might have an accountant that you contract out, ask them the questions. Make sure that they're backing up your information. Make sure that anyone that you contract services to, whether it's accounting or other operations, you have the right to ask them, what are they doing in terms of their cybersecurity policies to making sure that your business information, your personal information is safe. So make sure that you've got backups of everything. Number 4, really to protect your business, control the physical access to your computers and create user accounts for every employee. You don't want unauthorized people going into your computer systems. Laptops are easy targets for theft. So make sure all your laptops, especially, are password protected. So when you do turn them on, it asks for a password. Make sure there's a separate user account for every employee, and make sure they have strong passwords as well. And make sure you change these regularly. For those of you that have administrative privileges, so this is for key people in your organization that have access to different things and may control who they give access to. Make sure they're trusted people. Make sure that if employees come and go, so make sure that they can be trusted. If employees do leave, one of the first things you need to do is to disable their access to all your computer systems, because you just never know. One of the threats that we sometimes talk about, it's not just the external threats, these hackers trying to get in, but sometimes it's from internal people as well. So we really need to be careful. Okay. The other thing you can do when you access your computer system is set up what's called multi-factor authentication. Some of you may have already seen this if you're not familiar with what's called multi-factor authentication, but it's a way of protecting your systems by getting a second source of validation. To give you an example, some of you may have a Gmail account or a Hotmail account. Let's suppose you forget your password to your account. You can always, when you try and log on, there's always a forget password link. When you now typically hit on that link, they will send you a code which usually goes to your phone. They'll have your phone number, so they'll send you a text with a number, and then you put that code in. That's multi-factor authentication. They want to make sure it's you. So they send you this code. When I log on to our office systems, we have an internal system. It's called an intranet. If you have an internal system, if I want to log on to an intranet, there's always multi-factor authentication. The system I log in with my email address, and then I get on my phone a code to make sure that it's me, and then it authorizes me to get into our computer system. So multi-factor authentication is something you could look at. The other thing you can do is make sure your Wi-Fi is secure as well. You can actually hide it and encrypt it. So your technical staff or your IT provider can help you with that. So make sure that your Wi-Is are secure. Everyone is going to wireless these days, so there are ways to protect your Wi-Is. And I think this might be my last point, is to limit employee access to data and information. Don't let people install software that isn't authorized by your organization, because you don't know where it's coming from. You can actually prevent employees to install software without your permission. So make sure they're not installing stuff that's not required on your systems. Make sure one employee doesn't have access to everything. You really want to make sure that you've got a trusted employee who's administering your system. So those are just a couple of other things you should keep in mind. Just some final thoughts. Cyber is an ever-present threat to business and individuals. Really educate your staff and yourself. A lot of this is common sense. It's not all doom and gloom. So I don't want you to go out there and think I'm going to be hacked tomorrow. Really think before you click on something. Educate your staff. If something looks funny or sounds funny, it probably is. So just ask people to use common sense and try and get them trained. 30 minutes of training can go a long way. Keep your software and systems up to date. So that's critical, and that could go a long way in itself. Back up your data and your information. And there are professionals and service companies out there that can help you. And it's a smart investment. There are organizations, they're called managed service providers. And typically a lot of times they're smaller organizations. That's all they do. They manage computer systems for usually small and medium-sized companies. The larger companies have their own computer staff and cyber computer staff and IT staff, but the small companies and medium-sized companies many times will outsource their IT support. So there are a lot of those companies, and a lot of them are very good. They will protect you. They will be there to support your computer systems. And in most cases, it's not even the cost of a full-time staff. So something you should look into if you don't have that support. Here's our website, training.fortinet.com. So we do offer free training. Some of our training is technical. We're introducing some new courses on October 1st. One is called Introduction to the Threat Landscape. So this particular course, I think it's about 2 hours in duration. It's all e-learning, so you can do it at your own pace. Just log on. All we ask for is your name and your email address, and then you're able to log on. So this will, tell you what phishing is and what malware is and what to look for. So that's probably something everyone should take. For those of you who might be a little more technical, we've got a couple of other courses which gives you a more technical introduction to cybersecurity. So we start talking about the technology, what's a firewall and what's, things called SD-WAN and so on. So just more technical things on you would need for your business if you want to bring in all these devices as well. So all of that is available on our website. There's a bunch of training there today, but as of October 1st, next week, you'll see these two new courses that will be available. And we're going to be adding a few more later on in October, which will be more on basic cybersecurity awareness. There'll be videos, so your staff can just watch a video on what phishing is, for example, and it'll give you examples of what phishing is and that sort of stuff. So we've got more coming as well. Here's another question. There are many challenges with employees who work from home. What would you advise an employer to do if they learn that many longtime employees who work from home don't own a personal cell laptop and have been using their work for, so yeah, a lot of, so many employees are working from home who don't have their own cell or laptop. And they're starting to use it for personal matters. You can, if they are using it for personal matters, that's probably okay, as long as you set up those devices where they cannot download additional software. So they can still be protected. So that's not a problem. It's typically not a problem. I would just prevent them from being able to download other software. Educate them, because if they're logged on to your corporate system and there's a phishing email and they click on, that will affect your business. So make sure that they're trained, and then that they're using common sense, and make sure that laptop that they have is up to date with recent software and all the security software that's necessary. So just make sure that it's an up-to-date laptop, and it should be fine. And again, make sure they change their passwords when they're logging onto your system on a regular basis. Okay, so a lot of it is just pure common sense. Okay. One quick thing I do want to show you. This here. I hope you can. Angelica, can you see my screen?
No, I think you might need to exit this screen, stop sharing, and then reshare the screen.
Okay, let's do that again. Here we go.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is from what we call our FortiGuard labs. Fortinet, we have millions of devices that are out there globally. So Fortinet is the #1 provider of firewall technology. So this is the technology that prevents these bad guys getting into your computer systems. What you're seeing on the screen right now are live attacks that are happening right now on a global basis. So these attacks are happening. We are catching them through our devices. So that's what you're seeing live right now. So you can see the different countries that are attacking and so on. But this is active. This is live today. So this is what's happening right now. So this is from our R&D folks, our research and development people. And this is something that we monitor on an ongoing basis to help our customers and preventing them from being compromised. But you can see how active people are in the world right now, trying to hack into computer systems. Are there any other questions?
Just a reminder, you can use the Q&A icon on the bottom bar of your Zoom screen if you want to type any questions to Al. We'll just give it a few more minutes in case anyone's typing. Okay. Oh,
Do you have any suggestion for password management tools? Good question. We tend to keep it fairly simple. We have just through our IT folks and so on. Our tools are as simple as we send out an email to every single employee in the company as a reminder to change their password every 3 months. And I don't know what automatic tool it is that we use, but we will shut you down unless you change your password. So our MIS folks will give you, like, for example, this morning I got notification that I have 12 days left to change my password. They typically give you 2 weeks notice. If I let it go past those 12 days, I will not have access to my computer. So it could be as simple as something like that. To what extent are backups are safe if there are immutable? Well, backups are safe. I mean, once everything is about the data, is what we always hear, right? You don't want to lose your data. So, backing it up on the cloud is fairly safe. Not many people are using, the I guess older technology in terms of hard drives and so on. But depending on your business and the size of your business, you can still back it up on an external hard drive somewhere. The majority of people are going to the cloud and are using services like Amazon, Amazon Web Services, and so on. That's something we use, for example. So those are fairly safe. What are the best MFA products on the market? Can you explain what MFA stands for? Who's ever asking that question? Oh, multi-factor authentication. Sorry about that. We have our own product that's there. So there are a number of products. We use something called 40 token, which is it's actually an app that you can install on your phone. So that's what we use internally at Fortinet. It's our own product that you're able to purchase. So it's an app. It's very simple. You just install it on your phone, and then it'll hook up to your own computer systems. But it really depends on how large an organization you have. So I would just research multi-factor authentication tools because they'll also vary in cost. And it's typically a license fee. The more people you have, the more you pay for each individual person. So it really depends on the size of your organization. So I would just research multi-factor authentication tools, and then you can look at the different costs and so on. But they all would pretty much do the same thing. Again, what do you mean by MDR? Someone asked about MDR service for a medium-sized business. You can expand on MDR.
They said manage detection and response.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about, another company that would do this. So there are organizations called managed service providers or managed secure service providers, MSPs or MSSPs. Absolutely, these guys would manage and monitor your systems for you. So yeah, absolutely, and it is, especially for when you're getting to a medium-sized organization, you do want to protect your company. Absolutely, yes.